faithfully conveying value and exploring great books worldwide. Hi, this is Sally Talks Books. Hello, everyone. I'm Glowin Howe, the chief editor of Sally Talks Books. Oh, hearing today's recommendation means your vacation time is almost up. All of us buddies have to join the return journey, whether we like it or not. Uh, in a couple of days, we'll be back to work, but we still want to remind our listeners to make the most of the last few days, rest well, and also pay attention to traffic safety. Ah, Today we're going to talk about a term called life and death. When we mention this term, many people might think it's just something in news reports, scenes in movies, or things happening to neighbors, and it doesn't really concern me. But life is unpredictable. Fortunes and misfortunes come suddenly. Have you ever thought if one day those life-threatening, serious illnesses come to you, what would you do? Speaking of 2016, there was a bestseller called When Breath Becomes Air. The author of this book isn't a professional writer, but an American doctor. Unlike ordinary doctors, yes, while writing this book, he was already terminally ill, not knowing when he would leave this world. The protagonist is Dr. Paul Kalanithi. He was a brilliant doctor at Stanford University, holding a medical doctorate from Yale. Moreover, he won the highest award from the American Association of Neurological Surgeons and was about to become a medical professor at Stanford, very likely to make groundbreaking contributions in the medical field. In everyone's eyes, he was a winner in life, just reaching the peak of his career. Alas, but at this very moment, fate is fickle. 36-year-old Paul was diagnosed with advanced lung cancer. We know that the probability of a 36-year-old getting lung cancer is actually very low, about 12 in 10,000. But Paul was chosen by the goddess of fate. As a doctor himself, he had faced patients' deaths countless times and had saved patients from the brink of death countless times. But this time it was his turn to face death. During his illness, his cancer cells slowly invaded from his lungs to his whole body, even his brain. The pain also made him unable to move freely like a normal person. At this point, Paul decided to pick up a pen and write about his illness. He also recalled his experiences since becoming a doctor, including those difficult cases and patients he had saved or failed to save. He hoped to use words to ponder a question. How does one live when they know they will die soon? Paul's illness record began in 2013. After he passed away in 2015, his wife compiled and published it as a book, which is the one we'll discuss next week. When Breath Becomes Air has been a bestseller in over 40 countries and regions worldwide and quickly topped the New York Times bestseller list. Strictly speaking, this book isn't a guide to end-of-life care, nor does it tell you what to do if you have a terminal illness. But in this book, Paul's stories and those of the patients inspire us to think about what is truly most important to us. We all know Bill Gates read this book. After reading it, he said, he's usually not moved to tears by works about death, but this book made him admire it and actually shed tears. Famous host Kai Kanging said that if life feels light and meaningless, this book acts like a paperweight, reminding us of the weight of life. So what exactly did Paul talk about in the book? And how did he face death directly? Next Monday, we'll read this book together. When Breath Becomes Air. Perhaps some of our listeners feel that cancer seems a bit distant from them. So next Tuesday, we'll talk about a disease that contemporary young people are most prone to, called depression. Depression has a nice term, a cold of the soul. People with depression feel very low, disappointed, helpless, and in severe cases, pessimistic and suicidal. Surveys show that 90 million people in China are suffering from depression. That number is actually quite significant. So do you or your friends have symptoms of depression? Or have you experienced depression? Next Tuesday, we'll share a book by David Burns, a medical doctor and famous psychologist from Stanford University, called Burns' New Mood Therapy. This book is a classic read for combating depression, remaining popular for over 30 years since publication. According to a U.S. survey, among over 1,000 self-help books, American mental health professionals most gladly recommend this one, called Burns' New Mood Therapy. The author believes that compared to traditional medication and psychotherapy, cognitive therapy can relieve depressive symptoms more quickly. This therapy also holds that a self-help attitude is key to recovery. Whether depressed patients receive treatment or not, as long as they're willing to help themselves, they're more likely to recover. So if you have mild or moderate depression, this book will definitely help you. Then next Wednesday, we'll share a parenting book with everyone. Uh, Parents often feel anxious during child rearing, even from when the baby's in the womb. Many parents start worrying about all sorts of questions, like what can they do to make the baby healthier? Hmm. Should feeding be on a schedule or done right when the baby's hungry? How should we hold the baby? When the baby cries, what should I do? What's worse is that these questions, each parenting book likely says something different, and elders give conflicting advice. So, what exactly should we do? On Wednesday, we'll bring you this book by British child psychology master and internationally renowned child psychiatrist Winnicott, one of his classics called The Mother's Mind. The author of this book believes that the relationship between a child and their primary caregiver in early childhood greatly influences their future psychological state and personality development. So, this primary caregiver is usually the mom, meaning the mother child relationship is super important. Winnicott describes children in detail in this book. During infancy, how should mothers establish a better mother-child bond? These methods not only help moms understand and respond to kids' needs, but also benefit dads and other caregivers. All right, after covering the kids' book, we'll next recommend a history book. Everyone knows ancient China was primarily an agricultural society, and settling down and valuing stability has always been a crucial tradition for Chinese people. So, naturally, people are particularly concerned about their family history and origins. Simpler forms include oral traditions passed down generation to generation, while more formal ones, especially for well-off families, are family genealogies. These help you quickly know where you come from and who you are. And who were your ancestors? Next Thursday, we'll introduce a book about a Chinese folk legend called The Endless Big Locust Tree. Its author is Professor Zhao Shiyu, a renowned historian from Peking University. So, what is the Big Locust Tree? It's a folk legend. According to genealogical records from Hebei, Henan, Shandong, and other regions, clans living in North China have long passed down the story that their ancestors mostly migrated during the late Yuan and early Ming dynasties from a place called the Big Locust Tree in Hongtong County, Shanxi. So, what exactly is the content of this legend? Why has this legend had such tenacious vitality, being passed down for over 600 years? And why do scholars value it so much? Next Thursday, we'll uncover the secrets of the Big Locust Tree for you. On Friday, we'll share an Oxford history book called Anti-Semitism. What's your first reaction when hearing this book title? I think most people would immediately mention the genocide committed by Nazi Germany against the Jews. However, that Holocaust wasn't random or sporadic. It has deep roots. European aversion and hatred towards Jews has persisted for over 2,000 years. Anti-Semitism is extremely complex, impossible to explain briefly. For us Chinese, understanding it is even more challenging. So the book Anti-Semitism can help us understand it better. Next Saturday, we'll bring you a classic social science work. And who is it by? It's by someone we're all familiar with, Mr. Lu Xun. In many people's eyes, Lu Xun's primary image is that of a national fighter. His second image, is that of a famous writer adept at using novels and essays to dissect national character flaws. But actually, we shouldn't forget that Mr. Lucian was also a renowned scholar. This Saturday, we'll share Lucian's only full-length academic monograph, representing his highest academic achievement, A Brief History of Chinese Fiction. It's also the first true masterpiece that systematically introduces Chinese fiction history through modern scholarship. We should know that before this, Chinese fiction research was fragmented and unsystematic. So Mr. Lucian's writing of this book was groundbreaking. He devoted enormous time and energy to research. The book was officially published in 1924, but Mr. Lucian began collecting and organizing materials much earlier. Actually, it started 12 years prior in 1912. During these 12 years, Lucian spent much leisure time in Beijing's major libraries. He gathered extensive ancient fiction materials and organized the creative approaches of ancient fiction, revising in painstaking, draft after draft, starting gradually from ancient myths and legends, all the way to late Qing's exposure novels. It comprehensively discusses Chinese fiction's origins and evolution. It accurately evaluates representative masterpieces and authors across historical periods, deeply analyzing interconnections between fictions from different eras. If you enjoy fiction or are fascinated by Chinese fiction's development, don't miss Lucian's A Brief History of Chinese Fiction. All right, that's all for next week's book previews. What books do you especially love that you'd like us to cover? Then welcome to share in the comments section below. Perhaps our next editor's pick will be the work you recommend. For friends who love Sally Talks books, we again invite you to join our official community. Thank you all